speak. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Tom Seeger.
Here.
Kenneth Ress.
Here.
Newland McGinnis. Nelwyn. I'm sorry. Bernie Willie. Dave Dougherty.
Here.
Paul Barcelona.
Here.
Patrick Fitzmaurice.
Here.
Weldon Crawford. Kirk Drum.
Here.
Ron Randolph.
Here.
You got 8?
Yes, sir, we have 8.
Okay.
We have a quorum.
Good deal. We have a quorum. All right, public announcements. Please silence all phones and electronic devices. If you wish to appeal a case that you disagree with the commission on, you have the right to do so. There are appeal cards over on the railing to my right. Speaker cards are also there. If you wish to speak, please fill out a speaker card and turn it into staff, and they'll get it up here to us. Public speaking, 10 minutes each side and 5 minutes for rebuttal. And then after the case that you're here is heard, please exit the building, as there may be other people waiting to get in. Please rise for the invocation by Commissioner Randolph and the pledge by Commissioner Ress.
Gracious Father, once again we come to you as humble as we know how, but with thanksgiving and praise in our hearts as we recognize who you are and who you've been in each and every one of our lives. We thank you for your grace and mercy this entire day. Lord, we thank you for our families and our homes and just having life and being able to have a lifestyle and a livelihood. Lord, we thank you for this commission tonight. We thank you for those representing in the audience, and we thank you for the parish that we serve and all of our government employees. And Lord, bless us this night. It's in your holy name. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, in your packets, you should have had a copy of the February 9th meeting minutes. Hopefully you had a chance to review it. Commissioner Fitzmaurice.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Fitzmaurice to approve. Second by Commissioner Drum. Please vote.
Eight yeas, 0 nays. Motion passed.
Thank you. All right, Helen, we got some requests to postpone.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Just would like to make sure that everyone is aware that case number 2021-2227 MSP, which is the first case on the agenda, has been withdrawn.
Okay, all right. Let me read it into the minutes and see if we have anybody here. Case is 2021-2227-MSP. This was postponed from the February 9th meeting. It's a minor subdivision of 38.5 acres into parcels 1 and 2. The owner and representative is Marlene Han Bosetta. Parish Council District Representative is Honorable Cheryl Tanner. General location, the parcel is located on the south side of Green Hill Drive and on the east side of Queenie Lane, Covington, Ward 2, District 6. Is there anyone here in the audience for this particular case? Seeing no one, we'll go forward, and it is the petitioner has asked that it be withdrawn.
Also, on the second page, we have a request to postpone until next month, 2021-2276 MSP. And someone should be here in the audience representing the owner to make the request.
Okay. It's Case 2021-2276-MSP, a minor subdivision of parcels D and E into parcels D1 and E1, owner and representative, Wildwood Trust, Reams Incorporated, Mount Auburn Corporation, Upton Retail Development Corporation. Parish Council District Representative is Honorable Steve Stefancic. General location, the parcel located on the west side of Louisiana 434, north of Crennel Road, Lacombe, Ward 6, District 11. And someone's here to speak on this? Is that what I understood, Helen?
That's what I was told. That's what I was told, yes.
Okay. Is there anyone here in the audience to speak on this particular case?
Just to give you the background information, the owner is requesting to, modify the request that is in your packet. It was provided to us, just a few days or at the end of the week. So they're requesting to postpone, to come back with a new survey at a new request, and they didn't want to just submit at the last minute.
Okay. I want to ask one more time if we got anybody in the audience on this. Seeing no one, I'm going to close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Seeger.
Move to postpone for 1 month.
Motion by Commissioner Seeger to postpone for 1 month. Commissioner Randolph.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Randolph. Please vote.
Eight yeas, 0 nays, motion passed.
Thank you. All right. We have a request to move up the last 2 items on the agenda. It's on page 4. I'm going to use the chairman's prerogative to move these up. That's under old business. It's the first item is 2020-2010-PP, Military Ridge, Phase 1, developer owner, Lynn Levy Land Company, LLC. Engineer surveyors, J.V. Burks and Associates Incorporated. Parish Council District Representative, Honorable Mike Smith. General location, the property is located on the east and west side of North Military Road, Louisiana Highway 1090, north of Interstate 12, Slide L, Ward 8, District 9. The developer is requesting to change the name of the subdivision. Staff?
Engineer has requested the name of the previously approved subdivision, Military Ridge subdivision, to be renamed to Bonterra subdivision. This office has reviewed this request and has no objection to the name change.
Okay. Mr. Shane?
Good evening, Mr. Chair. Jeff Shane of the Jones Fussell Law Firm at P.O. Box 1810 in Covington. I represent the owner and developer, and as staff has indicated, our simple request this evening is to change the name of the subdivision to Bonterra. We also will have some street name changes. None of the phases in this subdivision have been platted yet, but we will be changing Military Ridge Boulevard to Bonterra Boulevard, and also changing General Xavier to Cara May Street. So with those requested changes, we ask that you approve them, and we will see you in the future as this subdivision continues through the process.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Shane. Anyone in the audience wish to speak either for or against on this item? Seeing no one, I will close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Fitzmaurice.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Fitzmaurice to approve. Commissioner Seeger.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Seeger. Any further discussion? Please vote.
Eight yeas, 0 nays, motion approved.
Thank you. Next item is 2019-1561-MSP. It's a minor subdivision of parcels J4A, G1A, and K into parcels J4A1, G1A1, K1, K2, and K3. The owners are Marina Beauchamp, LLC, Mr. Jared Rickey. Surveyors Land Surveying Incorporated, Parish Council District Representatives, the Honorable Michael Reno. General location, the property is located at the end of Marina Boulevard, Mandeville, Ward 4, District 4. Revised minor subdivision plat submitted for recordation. Good evening.
Good evening. Jared Rickey for Marina Beauchamp LLC, 17940 Painters Row, Covington, Louisiana. What we're asking for tonight is to basically, if you look at lot K2 and K3, what we're doing is combining those to make one lot. We're fortunate in the fact that all of the lots are pre-sold, and one of the individuals that was planning on buying 2 lots, after we laid the road out and he took into consideration the water edge, not the property line, he really needs both lots to build one residence. So we're trying to do that ahead of time before we start the physical development.
Okay, let me see if staff had any comments. I know they did.
Yeah, basically, this was in front of you in 2019, and as the applicant and owner stated, they're trying to reduce the required, the number of parcels from 5 to 4. It is still, subject to some waivers that are listed here on your staff report, and also to comments 1 to 6 that are listed here as well.
Okay. All right. Anyone in the audience wish to speak on this item? Seeing no one, I'll close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Fitzmaurice.
Motion to approve,
Motion
Subject
by
to the
Commissioner
waivers?
Fitzmaurice to-
subject to the waivers, yes.
Motion by Commissioner Fitzmaurice to approve. Do I see a second? Commissioner Randolph.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Randolph. There was something that I saw that I had a question on. Oh, the width of the driveway element. It's 12 feet, and I believe the ordinance on driveways is, what, 30 feet?
35.
35.
Yes, sir.
We're fine with the servitude. What we're trying to do is lessen the width of the roadway itself, simply because of the size of the parcels and how the houses have to be configured. And what we're doing is side loading. If you look back to the minutes of 2019, we had committed not to impact any of the wetlands, not to go in for, to mitigate any of the wetlands or to fill any of the wetlands. So due to the width of the lots and basically cheating the road as far to the west as we possibly can, we still have room for the right-of-ways and the utilities without any problems. But we're trying to lessen the actual driving width of the road, which is really only impacting that one lot, lot K1.
So the driving surface would be reduced from 20 to what? Oh,
To 12.
to 12. And how does it affect you providing the shoulders, the 2-foot shoulders?
We would have the shoulders, but we're putting all of the utilities on the east side. So it's not to disturb any soils that would be in that 2-foot right before the wetlands line. Because I think we could all recognize if you're trying to dig in 2 feet of a different elevation between wetlands and the roadway, if we tried to disturb that soil, it's not gonna work.
So it would be a 12-foot driving surface and then a 2-foot shoulder on one side and also a 5.5-foot shoulder devoted to ditching and drainage?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so 12 plus 2 plus 5.5, but only on one side.
Well, you would have the 2 on one side, and then you would have everything else you just said on the east side.
I'm
So
sorry.
on the west side of the road, due to the elevation differences, which are as much as 10 to 12 feet, it doesn't make sense to try and put a ditch on that side because the water is just going to naturally flow into the wetlands. And we don't want to disturb that 2 feet with any type of utilities or any type of, touching the soil. So what we're asking to do is to leave the 2 feet, then the 12-foot driving surface, and then have the ditch and the utilities all on the east side of the road.
So a 2-foot shoulder and a 5.5 foot drainage on the east side. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so this is what the request is. So this is an additional waiver that would be requested by the owner here.
Okay. I'm really concerned about the 6-foot width. I mean, if you should happen to have 2 cars coming down, one coming in, one coming out, you got a problem.
Okay.
There's no way that this can be widened.
Yes, sir. I mean, what would make you all comfortable?
Well,
All we're trying to do is get it as tight as possible. If 12 feet of driving surface for that area is not comfortable, then we're open to suggestions. I mean, would 16 feet make it?
It would make me feel a lot better,
Okay,
okay?
all right.
So
Well,
you can handle the 15 feet,
Yes, sir.
okay? Helen, is that agreeable with staff? Chris?
We have no objection to the 16 feet, but I would like clarification specifically as for the waiver request. So we're going to go for a 20 feet roadway to a 16-foot roadway with a 6-foot ditch on the east side, which puts you at 22 feet plus your 4-foot shoulder, so maybe 26 feet. I just want to get what we're actually requesting in the record for when it goes through for the servitude width. Or Mr. Ricky's amenable to just providing the regular 35-foot and whatever the excess is carries over into the wetlands. And he can just utilize what he needs on the east side of it.
We can do that.
And we'll just go with the waiver of the 20-foot roadway surface and go with 16.
Okay, all right, we have a motion, but you need to amend it to.
I can amend my motion to accept that waiver.
Thank you.
And all the other waivers, right?
The other waivers were included, right? So we'll amend my motion to accept that waiver.
Okay. Motion and a second, Commissioner McInnes.
I just wanted to ask, I'm a little confused, the Chafuncta River's on the east side, correct?
Well, yes, ma'am, it's on the east side, but obviously between the roadway and the right-of-way we're discussing, that is the parcel of property, and then the river itself.
Right, but you're saying that you're putting utilities in the ditch on the east side that's closer to the river?
Yes, ma'am. Well, we're gonna put the utilities on that side as not to attempt to try and put utilities next to the wetlands. Because we're trying to leave the soil between the roadway and the wetlands undisturbed.
Okay, just not making sense to me. It seemed like you would do it on the west side, but I do appreciate trying to avoid impacting the wetlands, so that's all I have.
Thank you.
Okay.
I support what you're trying to do.
Thank you.
So we have a motion and a second to approve with the waivers. Please vote.
Eight yeas, 0 nays, motion passed.
Okay, thank you. All right, that's got those items, and we'll go back up to the front of the agenda. All right. The next item is 2021-2269-MSP. It's a minor subdivision of 31.274 acres into parcels A, B, C, D, and E. Owner and representative is MG Properties Investments, LLC. Mr. Jack Mendheim. Parish Council District Representative is Honorable David Fitzgerald. General location, the parcel is located on the north side of Weimer Road and Weimer Wood Road, which is a future road, in Covington, Ward 3, District 2. Staff?
The applicant is requesting to create 5 parcels from 31.274 acre parcel. The minor subdivision request requires a public hearing due to parcel A, B, and C do not have Parish Road frontage and are proposed to be accessed via a private drive. Also, the proposed name of the access depicted on the survey plat is proposed to be named Weimer Wood Road and requires approval from the Planning Commission. So the request shall be subject to the above comments and also the comments that are listed 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Okay. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. My name is Jag Menheim. My address is 221 St. Anne Drive in Mandeville, Louisiana, and I'm here representing MG Property Investments LLC, and happy to answer any questions
Okay.
the commission may have or the public may have.
All right. Good. Thank you. All right. Anyone in the audience wish to speak either for or against on this item? Yes, sir. Please state your name and address.
John Barry, 19214 Weimer Road, Covington.
Okay. And you want to speak
I just,
for or
I just have
against?
I just have a question on what's happening with the 17-acre parcel. It's actually listed as parcel
You
A.
need to drop your mask.
I'm sorry about that. Thanks very much. My question is just a matter of clarity. I'm looking to see what the future use for parcel A would be, the 70 acres in the back.
Okay.
Now, that's my question. The second one is most of the acreage and houses that are on the side past the gas line on Weimer Road are 4 acres or more. I would just like to know if the developer could possibly match that, just to keep into consideration what's happening with the end of that street. That's my 2 questions.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Anyone else in the audience wish to speak on this? All right, Mr. Mendenheim, you want to answer those questions?
Yes, the 17-some-odd acre parcel that he spoke to is it's going to be for residential purposes, no different than the other 4.
Okay.
So no other plans. And then I failed to hear the last question
All right. Come back up, please.
regarding the gas line.
It's past the gas line, most of the acreage, the houses sit on a 4-acre lot or better. Some are much larger. I just wanted to see if he could possibly bring up that, the first 4 that he's doing that are less than 3, or a little bit more than 3, up to that 4-acre parcel. Just to keep it in the same sync of what the houses are down that block. And I am actually for the project. It looks a very good project. I just wanted to get those 2 answers. Questions.
Okay.
Thank you.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, most of our parcels are 3.5 acres, and so our whole plan is already, and the surveys have been done. We would prefer to leave it as we've requested, rather than make those changes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. I want to bring it, close it to the public, bring it back to the commission. I don't see anyone else wishing to speak. Do we have a commissioner wishing to speak? Commissioner McInnes.
I move that we pass this, approve it, conditioned on the staff comments.
Okay. Commissioner Seeger.
Second that.
Commissioner Seeger seconds. Any further discussion? We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Eight yeas, 0 nays, motion passed.
Thank you. All right, the next item is 2021-22, 2277, MSP, a minor subdivision of tract 1-1 into tracts, well, that's I-1, excuse me, into tracts I-1, A1, and I-1A2. Owner and representative is River Chase Shopping Center LLC, Mr. James Marin. Parish Council District Representative, Honorable Marty Dean. General location, the parcel's located on the south side of Sterling Boulevard, Covington, Ward 1, District 1. Staff?
The applicant is requesting to create two tracts from a 31.489 acre tract. The minor subdivision request requires a public hearing due to tract 1 was previously part of a minor subdivision approved in May of 2005, and the request shall be subject to the comments listed here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Okay. Mr. Marine, good evening.
Good evening. My name is Mark Salvetti. I'm with Sterling Properties. I represent Jimmy Moran and River Chase Shopping Center in this request. To give you some background, this is the actual tax parcel for the movie theater. Movie theater closed down, tried to reopen during COVID and didn't have any success, and we're carving this out separately. Previously to this hearing, we went before the Board of Adjustments, and they agreed and approved that request. We had to go to Board of Adjustments because carving a property line down the middle of a parking lot, you're supposed to have landscape on both sides, and they waived that requirement. So here I am before y'all asking for the resub.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone in the audience wish to speak either for or against on this? Seeing no one, I'll close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner McInnes.
I'm curious, what are the plans for this area?
We're not really sure. We're kind of getting ahead a little bit right now because it's non-performing parcel. The movie theater hasn't paid rent for about 9 months. We're positioning to maybe do a future development. It would have to park itself, and we're not really sure. At this point, we're trying to get ahead of maybe refinancing the overall parcel.
I see. And my question for staff, would we see this, whatever plan for this site, would it come back before the commission?
No, unless I'm not aware that it would come back in front of you. They're just trying to subdivide the parcel from the larger parcel.
Just as long as it meets the zoning, then, okay.
Yeah, I would say, to your point, any change in the zoning or any other kind of use, it's going to go before staff for approval.
Well, I move that we approve, subject to staff comments again. I can understand.
Okay.
Didn't plan for the movie theater to go away.
We have a motion by Commissioner McInnes to approve further staff comments. Commissioner Fitzmaurice.
Second.
Second. Any further discussion? Please vote.
Eight yeas, 0 nays, motion approved.
Thank you.
Have a good evening, sir. Thank you. All right, next item is 2021-2278-MSP, a minor subdivision of lot or 1E into lots 1E1, 1E2, and 1E3. Owner and representative is Mr. Chad and Renee Heinz. Parish Council District Representative, Honorable Cheryl Tanner. General location, parcel located on the south side of Ed Yates Road, Pearl River, Ward 6, District 6. Staff?
The applicant is requesting to create 3 lots from a 10-acre lot. The minor subdivision request requires a public hearing due to Lot 1E2 and 1E3 do not have parish road frontage and are proposed to be accessed via a private drive. Also, the proposed name of the 35-foot access is proposed to be Crane Ridge Drive. It's been approved by 911 Communication District, although it needs approval from the Planning Commission. So the request shall be subject to the above comments and also item 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6.
Okay. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Janae Kassan. My parents, Chad and Renee Hines, are the owners of the property on Ed Yates. Like Helen said, the property's 10 acres. We are asking for the 10 acres to be split into 3 parcels. The first 2 acres for myself, the second 2 acres will be for my sister, and the remaining 6 will be for my parents. And like she said, we have the private road named Crane Ridge Drive.
Okay, and your name was?
Janae Kassan.
Okay, all right, I got the card here, okay.
Yes, sir.
That's the one I wanted to be sure that you were the right person. All right, good deal, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else in the audience wish to speak on this? Seeing no one, I'll close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Randolph.
Make a motion to approve with the waivers.
Motion by.
No waiver, I'm sorry. Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Randolph, Commissioner Fitzwater.
I'm going to second, and I also have the same, in my packet, I have a second page that shows the waivers from one of the previous cases on all the other cases, so, but it'd be subject to the comments, so I'll second the motion. You have that? I noticed it on, you do too? They all have it, okay. Don't get nervous, it's okay.
I don't know what that means.
Right.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please vote.
Who's the requirements? It's cool.
8 yeas, 0 nays, motion carried.
Thank you. All right, the next item is 2021-2278, MSP, a minor subdivision of Lot 1E into lots, is that the same one? No, the chairman did do that one. Okay. Excuse me. 2279. Yeah. All right, 2221-2279 MSP, a minor subdivision of 11.82 acres into parcels A and B. Owner and representative, Mr. Sidney Rufus Lloyd. Parish Council District, Honorable Cheryl Tanner. General location, parcel located on the northeast corner of George Road and Sydney Lane, Covington, Ward 2, District 2. Staff?
The applicant is requesting to create 2 parcels from a 11.82 acre parcel. The minor subdivision request requires public hearing due to parcel B does not meet the minimum lot width of 300 feet required under A1 Suburban Zoning District and requiring a waiver from the Planning Commission. And the request should also be subject to providing a signature line for the chairman of the Planning Commission.
All right, thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. I'm Wanda Fairburn. I am Sydney's daughter, and we are trying to get this piece of property divided so my brother and I would have it before he passes. So that's the best. I mean, this is.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Anyone in the audience wish to speak either for or against on this? Seeing no one, I'll close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Randolph.
Yes, sir. A motion to approve with the waiver.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Randolph with the waiver, Commissioner Seeger.
Second that motion.
Second by Commissioner Seeger. This item will require 8 votes. All right. Any further discussion? Please vote.
Eight yeas, 0 nays, motion approved.
All right. Next item is 2021-2280-MSP, a minor subdivision of 9.38 acres, 5.08 acres, 9 acres, 6 acres, 7.92 acres, and the parcels A and B. The owner representative is Mr. Ernest D. and Joan P. Smitherman. Parish Council District Representative is Honorable Cheryl Tanner. General location, the parcel located on the west side of Louisiana 40, Covington, Ward 2, District 6. Staff?
The applicant is requesting to create 2 parcels from parcel B. The minor subdivision request requires a public hearing due to parcel B was previously part of a minor subdivision approved in May of 2008. And also parcel B is requested to be created as a flag lot, requiring a waiver of the regulation by the Planning Commission, since flag lots are only permitted above the urban growth boundary line.
Okay, good evening.
Good evening. My name is Ernest D. Smitherman. I live at 18098 Highway 40, Covington, and I'm requesting a split up of a 39-acre parcel that was bought by me in 1980. The parcel was split into two pieces in 1980 by 15 and 15 acres because it was a 30-acre part. Since 1980, it's been, I have added 10 acres in the back of the property and now need to split the property in half
Again.
because I can't take care of it no more.
All right. All right, is there anyone else in the audience that wishes to speak either for or against on this item? Seeing no one, I'll close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Seeger.
Thank you.
Waiver and also subject to staff request.
Okay, Commissioner Randolph.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please vote.
Eight yeas, 0 nays, motion approved.
Thank you. All right, the next item is 2021-2281 MSP, a minor subdivision of parcel B into parcels B1 and B2. Owner and representatives, Mr. Thomas and and Laura Goodrose. Parcel Council District Representative, Honorable Marty Dean. General location of parcel located on the south side of Statanga Road, Covington, Ward 1, District 3. Staff?
Actually, this is the comments for this staff report here where the applicant is requesting to create two parcels from parcel B. Parcel B was previously part of a minor subdivision, and also there's a request, a waiver to allow for the creation of a flag lot with parcel B2.
Hey, so Tommy Guidros, currently of Hammond. We bought the property on Stanga. The 5 acres, we plan on splitting it so that we can build. In-laws are going to be building on the front lot. Me and my wife and child plan on building on the back lot. We had the survey. It's done by the same company that did the previous one in 2008, which you'll see is the same size of the lot. Nothing's changed other than adding the division in there. We allotted for a 45-foot flag lot to allow the road passage to be able to have our own drive and the front lot to have its drive. So we're just looking to be able to get it subdivided so we can build on the property.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak for on this item? Anyone wish to speak against? I have 2 cards. I'm not real sure, they just want to speak, okay? The first one is Lance.
Orville.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So Lance Orville, I'm on 12460 Stanga, which is east of this property.
Okay.
First of all, I'd like to say I'm not here to prevent my new neighbors from building their home at all. It's not what I'm doing. My wife and I just purchased our property last year. We bought this property based upon what we assumed was the property by the tree clearing, the tall grass on one side, the trees on one side, would have been cut where some buildings have been built, mainly a well house where my well is held. And then we also have some neighbors who are right behind us, share the same property with us. So we bought this property based upon in good faith what we thought was ours. And then when this new survey comes, I lost about 20 foot of it, including my propane tank, which is in the ground. So obviously there are some issues for us, some discrepancies that we want to clear up. So really just asking to hold off until we can get these, discrepancies cleared up in whatever way that is that we need to do it. Again, I don't want to stop them from building, and I certainly don't want to have a feud with my neighbor just coming in. I mean, that's not what I'm here for. I'm just trying to figure out, we bought a piece of property and now my actual gas tank is, half of it's on their property according to the survey. That was just done. Stakes were moved from when we bought the property and put new stakes and rebars in the ground. So that's really what we're here for today.
Okay. Staff, I want to look to y'all on legal on this to, do we need to postpone this?
The decision is in the hands of the commissioners. Emily, I don't know if you want to add anything to this. Of course, we're not sure exactly what happened in between. Maybe the owner can try to clarify something at this time.
You want to talk about this, Mr. Chairman?
Pardon?
Mr. Chairman, you want to talk about this after you hear the public comments, and you come back, and when you close it to the public, you want to discuss it?
Yeah, we can do that.
I can give a quick rebuttal just to give some more clarity to it. Like I said, if you look, you have the previous 2008 survey and the new one. You can see that the east line that my neighbors are on, it's the same exact line, so nothing's been moved, and there was only one new rebar stake that was to subdivide the 1.5 acres. The last survey that was done for their property was in 2008, and I have that one as well that I can let y'all see. And there's not an additional, like what he's saying, property lines being moved. It wasn't, from our survey, there was only one piece of rebar that was put down, and that was the 1.5 acre stake. The other ones, I don't know if they were from their previous ones, because since they've owned the property, they haven't had it surveyed.
Okay.
So they don't know exactly what their property line is. I can tell you with certainty that this is the same property line from 2008 to today.
Okay.
You know.
I've got another lady over here, Amy.
This is my wife.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Amy Ocello Arvell. My husband spoke. We live at the adjoining property. I'd like to add that when we bought the property, there were survey stakes still in the ground that we were told from the previous owners that those were the original survey stakes that were clear. They developed the property off of those survey stakes. There was also a fence that matched up with that exact line where those survey stakes were, which is a good 20 to 40 feet further from our property where these new survey stakes are. They're clearly into the trees. You can see this was how the property was developed. Again, it's in line with the previous owner where they brought the property from. That's where he had his fence. We've spoken to all the previous owners. They were all under the assumption that that was the property boundary. We've also spoken to title attorneys, and they've also, explained that there are no disputes over property lines for over a 10-year period. I don't know the exact legal term, but that often, then if it's not disputed, that property becomes the property of the current owner. So obviously, there's a lot of things that need to be resolved with this. So again, we're not against, our neighbors building there, our new neighbors. We would just like to have this resolved because we've lost quite a bit of our property if this is indeed
Okay.
the new property boundary.
Well, we've had comments, and we've also had the rebuttal. I want to, do you have another comment?
No, sir, she just brought up this.
Okay.
And also, sorry, I forgot to add, when the survey crew came out, it's the same company that did it. The survey crew that came out, the survey lead, I went outside to talk to him and asked him, and he said, no worries. He said, I'm actually the one that did this survey that the stakes were in the ground for. That's the survey line. I came back home an hour later. He had taken all those survey stakes out, put new ones in that were a good 20 to 40 feet over onto our yard.
Okay, well.
Actually, I'm sorry, I do have one more. So there is a survey rebar that was put in at the acre and a half that he mentioned. But there's also one on the backside of our property that is new.
Okay.
It's at the end of my blacktop driveway.
I think y'all are
Maybe
gonna have a
15
problem,
foot.
and you're gonna have to get, you know, an attorney.
We understand that, yes.
Yeah, okay.
We're clear on that.
All right. All right, I'm gonna close it to the public and bring it back to, staff.
From the staff's perspective, it would be nice not to have this particular issue on this particular re-subdivision. So because of the issues that were brought up, we would probably prefer to have postponement of this case.
Okay, that'd probably be the best thing to do.
And again, it's up to the commission, but that would be our comment.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'm gonna go to Commissioner McInnes.
That was gonna be my comment as well, that I just didn't feel comfortable moving forward on this until the boundary line got resolved. And it seemed like, since it's the same surveyor, you guys could both get the surveyor out there and try and get it resolved.
Come back up to the microphone.
So, just like he was saying, they bought everything on an assumption, just what they visually saw on the landscape, and didn't go off of any kind of real data with rebar that's been in the ground for 10 years and everything. And what we're asking for today is simply the subdivision of the lot to be able to, I'm not talking about the boundary lines, we just want to be.
We understand that, but they did say there were some stakes there that were moved. So
Yeah.
we just don't feel comfortable. We understand what you're saying, but there's too much question on where the line
Yeah.
is.
So do they need to get a survey and then we need to resubmit for y'all? Or what do y'all need to hear
Yeah,
to
we're
feel
gonna
comfortable?
postpone it, and I'd suggest you get back with staff, and possibly your neighbor, and y'all get together and come back next month if it's ready to hear it.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
to his question, can I answer his question? I think you don't have anything else to do. I think, given the people, your neighbors, 30 days or whatever it is to our next meeting, to come up with
Yeah.
some real, true, hard evidence
Yeah.
to present to this commission would be the next step. I don't believe you have anything else to do.
Okay.
And it's gonna be up to them to provide that evidence to the commission to either make them comfortable in making a decision or not.
Sounds good.
okay,
Thank y'all.
all right. Commissioner Randolph,
I second the postponement.
you second to postponement. All right, we have a motion and a second to postpone for 1 month.
Till all legalities are cleared up before we see it again. No? Okay, then we'll leave the motion as original.
Leave it as a motion postponed for 1 month.
Yes,
We can always postpone it again if it's not ready,
okay.
okay? We have a motion and a second to postpone. Please vote.
Eight yeas, 0 nays. Motion passed.
Thank you. Okay, the next item is 2021-2284-MSP, a minor subdivision of track 1 into track 1A, 1B, 1C, and Equitana Lane. Owner representative, Equitana Farms LLC, Mr. Tim Morrow. Parish Council District Representative, Honorable James Davis. General location, the parcel's located on the south side of Little Dixie Ranch Road and on the east and west side of Equitana Lane, Folsom, Ward 7, District 7. Staff?
The minor subdivision request requires a public hearing due to the request to allow to create a separate parcel for Equitana Lane and also for the construction up to parish standards and also for future dedication. If you look at the parcel, the lane itself, it doesn't meet the requirements of the A2 and A3 suburban zoning district, requiring a waiver from the planning commission. And also, the proposed minor subdivision was previously part of an approved minor subdivision in 2018. And the request should be subject to the above and also the below comments 1 and 2.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Morrow?
And I just distributed also, that's passing around, is no objection letters.
Okay.
Yes, we did a minor subdivision here in 2018, and I've received an unsolicited offer for the 10-acre tract that wasn't up for sale, and I'm asking for this subdivision that will allow me to sell the 10-acre tract. And so it has to be separated from the other 2 tracts to allow that sale to go through. I've been working with the Planning Commission, and we are okay with all the provisions that planning has asked for.
Okay. I have a card from Matthew Dillard.
If there's no, I just wanted to say I'm in favor. I live on Equitana, and I'm in favor.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, anyone else in the audience wish to speak for or against on this item? Seeing no one, I'm gonna close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Randolph.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Randolph to approve. Commissioner Fitzmars.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Fitzmars. Please vote.
Eight yeas, 0 nays, motion passed.
All right, thank you. All right, next item is 2021-2285-MSP, a minor subdivision of Lot A1 into lots A1A and STP3. Owner and representative, D.R. Horton Incorporated, Gulf Coast. Parish Council District Representative, Honorable Jake Airy. General location, the parcel located on the end of Lakeshore Boulevard, Slidell, Ward 9, District 13. Staff?
The minor subdivision request requires a public hearing due to the proposed minor subdivision was part of a previously approved minor subdivision in December 2017, and also lot STP-3 does not have Parish Road access, requiring a waiver from the Planning Commission. The request shall be subject to the waiver and also to items 1 and 2.
Thank you. Mr. Shane?
Good evening again. Jeff Shane of the Jones Fussell Law Firm at P.O. Box 1810 in Covington, representing D.R. Horton, Inc., Gulf Coast. This request is to create a parcel which will allow for the expansion of the Oak Harbor East utility system, which provides, of course, the utilities for the Lakeshore Village development. This is part of the plan of expanding the infrastructure as our subdivision grows, bringing houses online. So this is a parcel that is part of the larger tract, nearly 1,000 acres, that's being carved out, created as a separate legal lot of record. It will have private servitudes and driveways that provide access for it to the other 2 utility sites, and this will again facilitate the expansion of the facilities to service the development. If any of you have any questions, I'll be glad to address them at the appropriate time.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Shane. Anyone in the audience wish to speak for or against on this item? Seeing no one, I will close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Randolph. Motion by Commissioner Randolph to approve.
With the waiver?
Okay. Commissioner Fitzmars.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Fitzmars. Any further discussion? Please vote.
Eight yeas, 0 nays, motion passed.
Thank you. All right, re-subdivision review. First item is 2021-2202-MRP, re-subdivision of lots 27 and 28 into lots 27A and 28A, Oak Park Estates, Block 4, Phase 1. Owner and representative is Mr. August J. Hand. The surveyor is Randall W. Brown and Associates. Parish Council District Representative is, that's Marty Dean, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, general location, property located on the east side of Oak Park Drive, north of Dana Street, Madisonville, Ward 1, District 1. Staff?
The public hearing is required considering that proposed lot 28-A, as you can see on the survey, does not meet the requirements of the right angle as it abuts the road line. It's shown here as at an angle. And also a portion of the lot does not meet the minimum lot width of 100 foot wide. As you can see, it's 85.3 feet, which requires waivers from the Planning Commission, and it also should be subject to item number 1 to add the signature line for the planning, the chairman of the Planning Commission.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. I'm August Hand. I live at 80446 Meadowlark Loop, Bush, Louisiana. I'm the owner of this property, and somewhat as an afterthought of buying it, you can note from the survey that the original residence constructed back in the 70s basically was constructed right at the edge of that property line between the two existing lots. I simply made a request of Mr. Randall Brown to talk to staff about the possibility of re-subdividing these into 2 lots, which would closely resemble several lots within in the immediate area, some of which are 3/10 of an acre, some are 4/10 of an acre. Although I do recognize that it does not meet the minimum width requirements, I think it's consistent with many other properties within the vicinity of the property.
All right, thank you. Let's see if anyone's in the audience that wishes to speak for or against. Seeing no one, I want to close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Fitzwater.
I make a motion to approve with the waiver and subject to staff comments.
Okay. Commissioner Seeger.
Second that motion.
We have a second on the motion. Any further discussion? Please vote.
Eight yeas, 0 nays, motion passed.
Thank you.
Separate the other ones.
Okay, next item is 2021-2265-MRP, re-subdivision of lots 88 and 88A. The owner is
Just the title.
GMI Construction Incorporated, Mr. Gregory Intervilla. Representative is Rebecca Trimble. Surveyor is Kelly J. McHugh and Associates. Parish Council District Representative, Honorable Riker Toledano. General location, the property is located on the north side of La Mesa Court, Mandeville, Ward 4, District 5. Staff?
If you take a look at the survey, basically the owner is requesting to create 1 lot, and basically the objective is to allow for a slight change in the orientation of the proposed garden home. The public hearing is required considering that, as stated on the covenants of the approved plat, no lot shall be further re-subdivided without approval from the Planning Commission. And I've also emailed you some drawings and some no objection letters, which I have copies over here. If you'd like to take a look at it, I'll pass them around.
I've got mine.
You want me to give her the handouts? Because I don't think I can go back.
All right, good evening.
Copies of all
all these?
Yeah, they looked at it already.
And what about the new letter that came in? Do they want that?
Yes, today we received a new letter of no objection. So if you'd like to, I can, pass around a copy as well. So,
I'm Rebecca Trimble. I live at 163 Chestnut Oak Drive, Mandeville, 70448. And I am wanting to build a garden home in Brentwood Estates. And the builder, I've signed contract with Greg and Trabia, the developers, Kelly McHugh, and I have 5 letters of support to shift the home from facing the neighbor's driveway. I only have one neighbor because the subdivision is built on a conservatory, so there's no land behind it, only woods. And my neighbor is 12 feet 6 inches from my house, the structures, and the mirror image lots on the other side of the cul-de-sac are like 22 or 24, something like that, feet apart. So we're asking if we can create some distance between my immediate neighbor and my house and shift it so that rather than facing the neighbor's driveway, it faces the cul-de-sac. And there is a letter of approval from my neighbor as well as the only other neighbor on the cul-de-sac, as well as a letter of approval from the Brentwood Architectural Committee and Greg and Trabia, the builder, who says it will improve the appearance and it will also help the drainage between the two houses. So my real estate agent here is here too. Do you want to show them? Okay, what about the poster?
They have pictures.
You've got pictures, so you don't need to see it. I made posters too. But I think
We-
you've got
we-
everything that's on here that shows.
Yeah, we've got pictures of it.
Okay. Do y'all have any questions?
Not yet.
Okay. I just
We're
want,
just looking for a slight pivot.
Yep.
That's it.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
thank you.
All right, anyone in the audience wish to speak for or against on this item? I'll close it to the public, bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Fitzmaurice.
I think you made a wise decision, and I make a motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Fitzmaurice to approve. Commissioner Randolph.
A second.
Second by Commissioner Randolph. Any further discussion? Please vote.
Eight yeas, 0 nays, motion passed.
All right. Thank you. All right, the next item is 2021-2283-MRP, a re-subdivision of parcels 2 and 3 into parcels 2A and 3A. Owner is the ASBE Fund. Representative Jones Fussell LLP, Mr. Paul Morone. Surveyors R.W. Krebs Professional Land Surveying LLC. Parish Council District Representative, the Honorable Riker Toledano. General location, the property is located on the west side of Wadsworth Parkway and on the north side of Louisiana Highway 1088, Mandeville, Ward 4, District 5. Staff?
The owner is requesting to create 2 parcels, parcels 2 and 3 into parcels 2-A and 3-A. The public hearing is required considering that as stated in the restrictive covenants of the approved plat, no lots shall be further re-subdivided without approval from the Planning Commission, and it should be also subject to item 1 and 2.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Crone, good evening.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Paul Maroon on behalf of the ASBE Fund. The request this evening is simply to modify the lot line between these 2 parcels to reconfigure each. No new parcels are being created, as you'll see on the plat by Mr. Krebs, which is attached. Both of the parcels greatly exceed the minimum requirement. Both have road frontage. The configuration has just changed. So we would respectfully request your approval of the re-subdivision according to the Krebs plat, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that any of the commissioners might have.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
Thank you.
Anyone in the audience wish to speak for or against on this item? I'll bring it back, close it to the public, bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Seeger.
Move to approve, subject to staff request.
Motion by Commissioner Seeger to approve for staff comments. Commissioner Barcelona.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Barcelona. Any further discussion? Please vote.
Seven yeas, 0 nays, 1 abstain.
Okay, thank you. All right, we've got a text change. This is an amendment to Chapter 125 subdivision regulations. Case number is 2021-2259, text change. The text change, ordinance to amend St. Tammany Parish Code of Ordinance, Chapter 125, subdivision regulations, Article 7, studies, plans, and review procedure, Section 125-190, tentative subdivision review, and Section 125-195, preliminary subdivision review relative to review requirements. Staff?
All right, my mic's on. Mr. Chairman, I'm going to read sections that are stricken and sections that are added, and then we can have discussion. In Part A of 125-190, tentative subdivision review, we're striking 20 application submissions down to 12 copies. We're striking, it is recommended that the tentative plan be drafted by a qualified engineer, land surveyor, or architect. However, it is not mandatory. Therefore, if the developer chooses to defer from said recommendations, then I'm gonna just continue. Said plans must be drawn neatly, shall be to scale at a minimum size of 24 inches by 36 inches. Additionally, said plans must be folded in a rectangular or square-shaped fashion with the parish signature lines shown on the front face. Again, those are additions and strikes, so if the syntax is incorrect, that is the reason why. Moving down to number 15, location of all proposed or existing easements, rights-of-way, and/or servitudes, including drainage, access, and utilities. Number 26, existing LiDAR contours, minimum 2 feet contours, extended to a minimum of 100 feet beyond the proposed subdivision boundary. Number 27, direction of flow of surface water in roadside ditches, canals, and drainage features, shown at a minimum of 1 directional flow arrow per sheet, block high low point, and/or change in flow direction. Number 28, typical lot drainage detail showing lot design, surface, flow directions. A note shall be included with a detail identifying the lot's drainage detail as applicable for. A typical lot drainage detail shall be provided for each lot drainage situation, parentheses, rear to front drainage, split drainage, etc. And I believe those are the changes, and I can give it back to the commission for discussion.
Okay. Anyone in the audience wish to speak on this revision? Yes, sir. Come forward, state your name and address.
Good evening, gentlemen. Donald Henderson, 223 Bee-Balm Circle, Covington, Louisiana. Strange standing on this side of the dais, but so be it. Since I retired from the parish, I have attended several zoning meetings and planning meetings. And one of the things that's been consistent, or seems to be consistent, within the last year, 18 months or 24 months, when these subdivisions, particularly PUDs, come before the Planning Commission, there's a great deal of concern by the residents, particularly in the Goodby area, relative to drainage. I think, in fact, Commissioner Reese mentioned it at the last meeting. I think even you mentioned the same thing last week, that there's been a lot of comment about that, and that the people should go to their council members in an attempt to try to get the system changed, if you will. This appears to me an attempt by the council to have the drainage and traffic considered earlier in the planning process than it currently is. That certainly needs to be done. However, I think it's a weak attempt at addressing the problem. According to revised statute, Louisiana Revised Statute 33:4780.42, the zoning commission has the right to consider drainage and traffic at the zoning level. And to me, that makes sense. Why in the world would a zoning commission or a planning commission want to intensify the zoning in an area where there are inherent problems? That's a drastic step. The developers are going to balk at it totally. There's going to be a lot of resistance. But there has to be some kind of a compromise on this. And my suggestion is that this commission recommend to the council to consider areas within the parish that are currently designated critical drainage areas as areas of special concern, in that the drainage should be considered much earlier in the zoning, at the zoning level rather than the planning commission. You don't write the ordinances. You just do what the council says, but you certainly have the right to make a recommendation to them. As far as the revised statute is concerned, I and Terry Hannon and a few other people have spoken with a number of members of the zoning commission about this, and whether or not the council needs to do something. I don't think they do. I think you have the right, without the council's approval, to make some requests at the zoning level. And that's where I'll leave it at this point.
Okay, all right, thank
Thank
you,
you.
Don. Dr. Martin.
John Martin, Goodby Civic Association. Commissioner, Mr. Commissioner, and members of the council, I totally agree with what Don's saying. I don't know how y'all have been able to do this, because basically when things are presented to you, it's like y'all are a jury on a murder trial and they tell you can't look at the forensics. It just never made sense to me. Y'all have to be able to look at anything and everything that you feel is pertinent to make a good decision. I also agree with Don about the zoning. If this was also done at zoning, if the zoning had permission to look at drainage, had permission to look at traffic, had permission to look at anything that they were interested in order to make a good decision, then I think we would all be much better off. It would certainly save planning a lot of trouble, because you have to go through multiple layers of planning, preliminary, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of money wasted by the client that's before you. And if this was also done at zoning, then it would either be cut short or it would be approved at zoning after they consider everything, and that would expedite a lot of things and save a lot of money long-term for people. This particular ordinance, I agree with Don, this is sort of like the frosting on a cake. But the cake is to get it also in zoning, that you've got the whole package together. So I would really hope that y'all go to your council members and get this passed, definitely pass this, but go to your council members and say, hey, you still have us chained, and I would like to see y'all unchained, that you can use your good common sense and your knowledge of the parish to do a better job, because y'all are handicapped in some of the things that you do. And it's been very apparent when we come before you that we can't do this. This isn't for us to do. We have to obey the ordinances. Well, let's change the ordinances and get a much, much better situation for everybody concerned. Thank y'all very much. Appreciate what y'all do. Bye-bye.
Thank you. And Bill, do you have a comment?
Well, I have a question. We've heard the strikeouts and the additions, and we've heard a response, but we haven't heard an explanation yet of why these changes are there and what they are intended to accomplish from your side.
Okay, well, I've got a lady sitting right here beside me that, I think that's probably her, she has some comments anyway, so I want to move to her.
Right, and I think I can address all three of your concerns with changes that need to be made at the zoning commission as well. When this matter was referred over to the zoning commission from the council at the February council meeting, you may notice from the agenda packet that there were actually 3 items referred to planning and zoning commission by the parish council because they amended chapter 130 or chapter 125. And it just so happened because of the publication deadlines that these 125 amendments came up first with the planning commission before the chapter 130 changes came before the zoning commission. But basically this all came up as a way to address those concerns with traffic and drainage that information coming to the commission and to the council earlier in the process. So the zoning commission will see, hopefully on next month's agenda, amendments to the PUD overlay, section 130-1674, which will require individuals seeking a PUD overlay to present that traffic and drainage information at that zoning stage rather than at the planning stage if they're applying for tentative subdivision review. And there's also some language clarifying from staff when a PUD overlay is actually being substituted for tentative subdivision review. So this is all connected, and these changes relating to drainage tonight are to clarify what information is going to be required as part of that PUD overlay zoning request. So I hope that clears up some of your questions. And as I said, those other amendments should be coming up at the next zoning meeting.
Do you have a site, a ordinance calendar number or something like that that we can go back and read?
It doesn't have one because it came up on the council agenda as a discussion or other matters, but I do believe that there's a draft that I can get to you.
Okay.
It just, while I still have the microphone, if you wouldn't mind, since we're doing this here tonight, and since this will go back to the council for consideration, I just saw one typographical issue. So if you all want to make that typographical change now, it can go back to the council in a better form. When Ross was reading it out loud, section 125-190, subsection A, after the first strike-through provisions, it looks like the uncapitalized said is not struck through. I think that word needs to be struck through. And then starting with the capitalized said plans and then carrying on. So just that one typographical change of taking out that extra uncapitalized said would be the one amendment I recommend being made tonight so that it can go through in a cleaner form to the council. And that's all.
Okay. All right. Back to Commissioner Randolph.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Madam Legal, you brought up my my first comment about the said. But that was good information. I appreciate that. And my next question to staff, including you, would be, are we going to be getting revisions like this to accommodate what might be coming forth from the 2045?
New Directions 2040?
New Direction 2045? Will we be getting more revisions such as this as a result of that?
Any amendments to chapter 125 or to chapter 30 have to go to the planning commission or zoning commission respectively for you all to comment on and make a recommendation on before it goes to the council. So I can't speak to what exactly is in the works. I think that we currently have one other amendment to chapter 125 that our office is working on. But I'm sure there's going to be more things in the pipeline, and anything that amends chapters 125 or chapters 130 have to come before the planning or zoning commissions.
Okay, thank you. With that being said, I'd like to place a motion on the floor to accept the edit changes for this ordinance inclusive of the suggestion from legal as it relates to the said.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner McInnes.
I wanted to just say I'm happy to see this. I think it's a move in the right direction to give us more information up front to make our planning and decisions, and hopefully in the future, our zoning decisions. So I just wanted to lend that support. Have you gotten a second yet? I will second the motion.
Second by
With the,
Commissioner
with the-
McInnes. Pardon?
With the same edits as suggested.
Right. Okay, Commissioner Ress.
I just have a question on that section A. So since we eliminated who can put these drawings together, who can put the drawings together? You took all the part out about it has to be a qualified engineer. To me, it doesn't state what qualifications are needed to supply these drawings at this point. So if we're trying to get more intense on data being provided, not being a qualified engineer providing these set of tentative plans, seems like we've gone backwards, because it sounds to me like there is no qualification. Am I missing something there? All that's been struck
Well,
from
Chris, I'll let y'all answer that.
The language that was in there was recommended language, but not mandatory language. So,
But now there's no language.
yeah, I mean, I don't know if staff has any comment.
I mean, it seems like we would want a qualified engineer to supply the plan. I would think the wording, though, should be clear that that's what's required, because you eliminated that it could be a qualified engineer, a land surveyor, or an architect. However, it wasn't mandatory, so then the drawing just had to be neat. Well, to me, you took out so much that we eliminated who has to do it.
So just kind of expound on that. The language here was revised to align with the preliminary subdivision review requirements as far as what's required and what has to be provided. And the goal is to remove that it's not mandatory that the engineer provide it.
I think I knew where you were headed, but, you don't think it needs to be an engineer then?
Well, no, that's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is that I have to go back. I don't have the full ordinance in front of me that pertains to these sections. And there may be a caveat within the existing ordinance that requires an engineer to provide the plans. Be certified by a Louisiana licensed engineer. It just does it within this specific section here. It'll be underneath
Somewhere else?
Within
it
125.
would be clarified who has to submit them? As long as we have that clarity, I have no problem removing this, as long as the clarity exists somewhere that it has to be a qualified engineer.
But on that note, I don't believe anybody on staff would have an objection if you want to amend the language to be provided or shall be provided by a qualified engineer.
I'm good as long as you have the base covered, that's, so.
Well,
Feel like we've got it
We don't know
covered?
at this point what I'm hearing. So, I'm gonna look over here at legal, but
I'm almost positive it's covered somewhere else, and this is a subsection of another section.
well, I guess it would come back to us anyway, but, it'd have to go through another advertising and everything.
Their goal was to follow the language.
Yeah.
It's already covered in the section that covers.
I think the language that Louisiana license has the plans that we certified.
Let me go on to the other people that want to speak while Emily's looking on this. Commissioner Seeger.
I would like to see the verbiage used here in this document, the approved engineering thing, and not depend on it somewhere else. I don't think it would be redundant even if we did that. Redundancy is okay. I also have a question. After number 28, there may be additional requirements. That means there may not be also, correct? I think that should probably state there are additional requirements. Instead of maybe.
Okay.
Am I wrong about that? I'll defer to staff.
I would divert to legal on the actual text, but I get what you're saying.
Would it be better to go ahead and postpone this tonight and hear it next month?
I mean, that's up to
that
the
gives
commission.
y'all time to look, that gives legal time to look.
I'm okay with the language because it's, to me, it's a standard style text that says, look, we can't anticipate everything that's listed above, and there may be other things that we're going to require. So
There are other things, not there may be.
There may be, though, is because there may be individual case-by-case basis depending on topography, location within the parish, and things like that.
Thank you.
after number 28.
It's the paragraph after 28.
Okay. So, what is the desire of the commission? Do we want to postpone it to next month and be sure that we've got all the i's dotted and t's crossed? Which I don't have a problem with, or we can go forward, and then if there's need to put it in there, we can, you know.
I'm kind of like Commissioner Seeger here, is that just put it in now that a qualified engineer, and then if it's in there twice, so what?
Okay.
We have anything to lose, and we can complete this task tonight if we just add the wording that the drawings have to be presented by a qualified engineer.
Mr. Chairman.
And this will still have to go back to the council as an ordinance for introduction. So the council will have another opportunity to look at the verbiage. It'll have to be introduced, then lay over for 30 days. And then it'll be subject to public hearing again as an ordinance for adoption.
So if we add it, then it has to start all over again anyway?
No.
I mean, if you add it, whatever changes you make tonight, it still has to go to the council to be introduced, to lay over for 30 days, and then to be approved. So if there are any changes you want to make, now is the time to make them, but the council may amend it further, or has the opportunity to look at it and to amend it further. So if there are changes you want to make, I would suggest making those changes tonight. And if it's a specific legal question, then I can look at that in the meantime and have it answered when it goes before the council. I have not been able to find that qualified engineer language.
If you can at least cover that base before it goes, I'm good with moving forward.
Okay.
So,
Motion, I'll accept that as a friendly amendment.
Okay,
I'll accept that as a friendly amendment to the motion.
all right. And, Tom, you accept it as a friendly amendment?
Yes, and I'll call for a vote.
Okay. Well,
Thank you,
we
sir.
got a couple more people here. Commissioner Barcelona.
For staff, so you require a qualified engineer, land surveyor, or architect to provide this plan? Is that what you require?
no, it should be a Louisiana licensed engineer.
Somewhere in the ordinance is what you're saying?
There's multiple sections in the ordinance that specify Louisiana licensed professional engineer.
Okay.
Okay, so
And
you require a
reference documents.
Louisiana licensed professional engineer to submit the tentative subdivision plans, and that's,
And with it being the tentative subdivision plans where it's looking at a boundary and all that survey stuff, I believe a Louisiana licensed surveyor would also be a qualified professional.
okay.
Okay.
Well, if that's what you require, I mean, I have no problem including that language. I mean, if it's
Well,
listed.
Emily's gonna verify that as well.
Okay,
And if it is, it's gonna be amended back in, or into this if it needs to be amended, and then it's come back to us, for further review.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, Commissioner Fitzmarsh, you withdrew? Okay.
And just before the vote's taken, can I just get clarification on how you all want to make that amendment? So would this be said plans shall be prepared by a Louisiana professional engineer and be 24 inches by 36 inches? I'm just trying to get the exact language.
I would have licensed in there. That's up to Chris, though.
So, anyway, I would just do a separate sentence.
Okay.
I would just insert it before the said plans. I would just put in there that plans shall be prepared by Louisiana licensed professional engineer and/or professional surveyor.
So you're whacking the architect, you know?
Yes, sir.
Picking on the architect. I'm not an architect, I'm just saying.
Okay.
Okay, we square?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Paul, do you have any further? Any further questions?
No, sir.
Kirk, you had said something,
I was just thinking when it said licensed engineer, but it's the electrician's a licensed engineer, train operator's a licensed engineer. What kind of licensed engineer?
In accordance with lapels, a qualified engineer, Louisiana licensed engineer that feels that they have sufficient background, education, experience with whatever that discipline is, they're allowed to practice underneath whatever license they may hold.
When they stamp it, it would show.
I think showing license.
And again, everything that's submitted to this office will be reviewed by Louisiana licensed professional engineers.
That's fine.
okay. Commissioner Fitzmarsh?
So you said that this was trying to follow the preliminary language, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so do we need to go correct that language so that these two speak to each other? You follow me? So if we're using one to strike another, I think they should be compatible is my point, right?
I don't disagree, but I'd have to review it and see.
You just look at it and see, but I think so. I think we'd have to make them, I mean, if that was the goal to make this one compatible with the other, then we ought to do the vice versa. What do you think, Ross?
Well, I'm hoping that this change becomes in line with preliminary and that the changes aren't needed in preliminary because we're changing the language in tentative.
I agree. But if we were striking something that was in preliminary, that's not in preliminary, now we're putting something back in.
We'll double check.
There you go.
We will we'll trust but verify. Is that what they
There
say?
you go. I'm good.
Emily, you said so?
I just don't see any of that same verbiage in section 125, 195 regarding preliminary subdivision review. It just says the developer shall submit to the Department of Planning and then gives the criteria that must be submitted at preliminary. So it does not use that engineer or surveyor language at all.
So that's in preliminary, right?
That's preliminary.
Good.
Now, is there somewhere in the ordinance that supersedes the subsections?
There may be some introductory language that encompasses all of 125. I just haven't been able to find that
I
right
thought
yet.
we discussed it in-house and with staff and that we did find the language that.
I have a feeling you did, or we wouldn't be looking at stricken language, but maybe, you never know. Just a quick word search ought to find.
We can do it.
All right.
So we have a motion and a second with the amendment, right? Please vote.
And as Emily stated while y'all vote, we do have another, an opportunity at the council level to correct any, text that needs to be corrected. So appreciate all of the comments tonight.
Good.
8 yeas, 0 nays.
Okay, and it's my understanding too, and Ross, you probably know better than I do, that the council, namely Jimmy Davis, is working on some languages. I think he was looking at drainage and having to build houses on raised foundations and that kind of stuff, which we certainly need to get in certain areas of this parish. All right, that's,
All good stuff.
let me find where I am here. Well, there's no new business and motion to adjourn. Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, thanks for moving the old business first, because I didn't want to have anything after this text review and change and stuff, so